My name is John Finlater, and I am using video to respond to this scenario so you can get the full breadth of what I would do in this situation, and I could communicate a lot more information faster, and it would be easier and faster for yourselves. I know you guys are all busy to be able to review the information. So for scenario one, the first thing is that we start by discovering and then defining the problem. From here, there are several issues. One, that the complaint handling procedures are not documented in the QMS. It's just a requirement per 21 CFR 820. I'm also assuming that it is 21 CFR 820 since you are selling in the US. Does not necessarily mean that you have to be ISO. So for the sake of the scenario, I'm going to assume 21 CFR. This is a quality system standard that we are abiding by. Once I discover the problem, I will look to see how pervasive the issue is. I will check other required procedures by 21 CFR to see if they are formalized in the QMS. That will not take long to do. And if they are formalized, then we would go the path of checking the procedures to make sure that they are in fact 21 CFR compliant. If they are not, I would document what's actually happening in the process so then we can leverage it to correct the existing process, taking the best practices of what they're doing already. The idea behind this is that we are not trying to stop and turn a moving train. We are simply redirecting and slowly moving the train in a slightly different direction, which will allow for faster success and adaptation by employees. Once we create the new procedure, we will train the employees that are required to have it as part of their training list on the training matrix. If the procedures are 21 CFR compliant, then we want to determine if they're actually being followed. And if they are being followed, then we will go ahead and add the procedure to the quality manual. If the procedure is not being followed in actual practice, we will still add the procedure to the quality manual since it is correct as it is. But we will train the employees that are required to have this training and retrain them just to make sure that they understand. One of the things that I would check to see is if the procedure is in a format that is conducive to reviewing it. It may require having to, again, look at the process to see what's actually occurring and leveraging the correct parts of the existing process in order to determine what the best path forward is. We would train employees that are required to have this training. If the other procedures are not formalized, then we would initiate a corrective action and preventative action on the corrective action and preventative action form. We would document the containment action. For every procedure that is not formalized, we would go through the process described before to make sure that it is compliant with 21 CFR and that what's actually being done in practice is in compliance with the procedures. And if not, changing the procedures to optimize and describe what we're actually want to do to be the most efficient, effective at completing the complaint, at completing the procedure. We would use 5 why analysis to determine the true root cause. Again, we would document that onto the CAPA form. We would implement a corrective action which eliminates the true root cause. We would then perform a check to make sure that the corrective action was in fact effective, and if it was not, we would go back and implement a corrective action that eliminates the root cause and continue in this loop until it is complete. Obviously, the corrective action portion would include leveraging the best practices from the existing process of what's actually going on. Again, referring back to the steering a moving train analogy. If the corrective action is effective, I want to check to see if there's any other potential issues that can happen because of the root cause. This may seem like more work at first, but this in fact saves a lot of work in the future, in the very near future, as we'll be able to discover other problems before they occur, which is a lot easier to fix than having to remediate an issue and remediate documents that have been done incorrectly. If there are no actions or potential errors or issues, then we would close the CAPA. If there are potential issues, we then need to do a cost-benefit analysis to see if it's worth it to implement these actions now. There may be some things that could happen, but if it's not likely or if it's too expensive or it takes too many resources, then it's not worth it to implement. We're basically looking at this point for low-hanging fruit. If the answer to that is no, we close the CAPA. If the answer is yes, we implement the actions and then close the CAPA. For scenario 2, we would discover the problem and then we would define it. And in this case, there are two types of problems. There's the technical quality problem, and then there's the culture problem. For the culture problem, I like to use a sandwich method whenever giving critique or having to correct or give feedback. The idea is to have a positive item, then fill in all of the negatives or the critiques, and then fill it with another positive item. In this case, it would look something like this. I would point out the positive aspect of them performing the initial audits on the suppliers and congratulate them, encourage them, so on and so forth for doing that. The next step would be to explain the consequences of not following procedures and the fact that if FDA comes in and audits us, that one of the top areas that they look at is purchasing controls. So that would be something that would be very easily discovered, especially in a situation like this, which could lead to more work, more money, and more increased time doing things that we would rather not do when it comes to the remediation work. The other critique that I would give would be to explain the necessity of monitoring the suppliers to ensure that the quality is continuing on, especially when it comes to these kind of products that are pushing the edge of technology. Suppliers can change and waver, and it's important that we stay on top. Now, how we do that is up to debate and brainstorming and negotiation. And that's where I would use this positive by encouraging that they are thinking in the right direction, by making sure they are doing things that are positive and that are functionally helping, right? And trying to be more efficient. If there's something in the procedures that are causing them to be inefficient, then it needs to change. And I would encourage them and congratulate them for that, since that truly is the hardest part to get across. What needs to be done is very easy. Having this type of mindset where you're looking to improve and to be efficient is the more difficult thing to have and put some leaps about competitors and other companies. So I would encourage them in this direction. The next part would be to brainstorm with SQE to see which parts are necessary in the procedure and what needs to be changed, right? And this is only a correction. This is not a corrective action because this is not fixing the root cause of the issue. We're not giving a root cause we're not able to really investigate for the scenario, but this definitely is not the corrective action, as the root cause would lie somewhere along the lines as to why the group feels that they do not need to follow the procedures. We would then update the procedure and retrain and document this correction on the CAPA form. As far as the technical quality problem is concerned, we'd have to perform a containment and find out what the extent of the nonconformance, what it is. There could be many suppliers that are in this situation. It could be one. I'm going to assume for the sake that it's just that there are many, since it was told to the whole group. And in that case, since it is a large-scale issue and there will be plenty of documentation giving evidence to how we are out of compliance with our procedure, we would then initiate a CAPA, and we document on the CAPA form. We perform our 5 whys to determine the root cause. We'll then implement a corrective action which eliminates the root cause if it is effective. If it is not effective, we will go back to the drawing board and implement a new corrective action. If it is, then we will move forward to to see if the root cause could have any other. We'll move forward to the root cause to see if there are any other areas that could potentially be impacted by this. If no, then we would close the CAPA. If yes, then we would do a cost-benefit analysis to see if it is worth it to fix these issues at this time. Again, looking for low-hanging fruit. And then we would, if no, we would close the CAPA. If yes, then we would implement the actions and then close the CAPA.